Very common criticism that came up after the unveiling of the Apple Vision Pro was that this is not the same as Steve Jobs unveiling the iPhone because Steve Jobs did a live demo, okay? It was a live stream, except back then not anybody could actually watch the live stream, like it wasn't streamed on their website or on YouTube. It was at the Macworld conference, but anyway, there was people in a room all watching Steve use that original iPhone, and that sold people on it better, and at the Apple event, it was all virtual, which made it feel fake and calculated and artificial, and everything just felt like CGI, and Tim Cook never actually showed himself wearing the thing. I saw so many people complain about that. Why is no Apple executive actually showing themselves with it on? They have to hire these actors to wear it for them. Well, I have my own theories that will hopefully address some of these complaints today. Let's begin. So I think there's a lot of backstory that people probably aren't aware of when it came to the original iPhone live demo, which is that they were showcasing it before the tech was ready. And there's actually some really interesting videos and documentaries I can link you to on how every single use case that Steve Jobs demoed with that original iPhone was on its own separate prototype. They only had one iPhone to do maps and one iPhone to do scrolling and one iPhone to do the camera, and they were all custom hardware to be able to showcase how the screen worked and how the phone worked and how to cast it on that big projector in front of the live crowd. And Steve was kind of acting like a magician with a sleight of hand trick, making it seem like one device was doing all of these things, when in reality, they had lots of devices up there that he was smoothly switching between. And personally, I think given that Apple Vision Pro could easily be 9 to 10 months away from actually shipping, I wouldn't be surprised if Apple is actually in a very similar situation with Vision Pro. They have certain prototypes that are capable of doing certain technologies, but at this point, I don't think there's one headset that is technically capable of doing everything just yet. One feature in particular that I did not actually see IRL, and no, I don't mean like in person because I wasn't at the event, but I haven't seen anybody film it, including Apple, is the eyesight feature, that curved lenticular display that changes its perspective based on how you're looking at it. I've only seen renders of that on Apple's website, and definitely like high quality marketing footage of it, which could clearly be animated. But as far as like anybody actually testing out the hardware, Apple's been pretty quiet about that. They let the Good Morning America crew film one of their cast actually wearing the headset, but it did not show eyesight working. And when it came to YouTubers getting their 30-minute demo, which we've heard all about through different sources, they didn't actually want them filming the experience of it taking place. I believe, of course, this is because Apple loves to be in control of the narrative around things. That's why they name everything. They didn't use the words VR and AR headset and that type of terminology. No, they do spatial computing and they do Vision OS instead of mixed reality. So Apple definitely likes to have a certain amount of control, and I don't think they wanted YouTubers or the media to really have that much access to wearing the headset without eyesight turned on. Now that's my theory, and personally I don't think they should care so much about eyesight, because even when it is working and they have figured out that rounded lenticular display, it probably still won't help that much with the social acceptance of it. I just think that's what Apple's banking on. They're assuming once they have all that figured out, it's going to look great and it will be a lot more convincing and it will more easily integrate into your life. But because the technology is not completely ready yet, I don't think they're ready to actually showcase what it looks like when they're wearing it. But I absolutely think that will come with time. And the other challenge of marketing a Vision Pro headset is the fact that it's not a device you can look at. This is why I personally don't think the first generation of Apple Vision Pro is going to be a huge success. While I'm excited for the future implications of Vision OS and where the technology is headed, I think this will be a slow burn. I don't think this is going to catch on as quickly as the original iPhone did or AirPods did or even the iPad. I think this is going to take a lot longer for the public to come around on and start to understand, because genuinely the impression I'm getting from the internet is there are people who have tried it on and are amazed by it and wowed by it, and there's people who haven't tried it on that don't get the appeal, that think this is a waste of time, that think it's stupid. It's because it's one of those things that you truly need to experience and wear before you start to really understand, oh, that's how immersive this is, or oh, wait a minute, I could use it for this, I could use it for that. In those micro OLED displays that we've never really looked at before, and this super low latency pass-through camera system they've come up with, as well as the state-of-the-art hand tracking, all of that stuff It all just sounds kind of interesting when you're watching a keynote, but I don't think you're really wowed by it in the same way until you actually try it. And because it's a 3D experience that can't really be translated over a 2D screen, which is what we're all watching coverage of Apple Vision Pro on right now, that's why I think marketing this thing is particularly difficult. So even if Tim Cook decided, I'm gonna unveil it by pulling it out of a case and putting it on right now, everybody would still just be looking at Tim wearing a headset. It's not the same experience as understanding what a 2D screen looks like when Steve Jobs pulls out the original iPhone and scrolls on it. We're like, okay, we understand how screens work. That one is smaller, you can touch it and it interacts. Vision Pro though, in Vision OS, not really the same thing. Tim Cook could put it on and be moving his hands around, but we're not seeing the same things he is. So either way, whether they did a live demo or not, you're gonna be relying on CGI and marketing material that's going to try to make it feel more real by filming it from a third-person perspective, of course, because if you try to do it from the POV, it looks like a video game. And again, filming a POV is still looking at a 2D screen. It's not as immersive. You don't really fully grasp how rich is the display, how convincing is the content, how low is the latency, how does the headset feel on your head? Is it comfortable? Is it uncomfortable? You don't really grasp any of that by just watching a video. Now, Apple said in the John Gruber interview that all of the animations and windows and stuff that they showcased in the ads for Apple Vision Pro were rendered on device, so they weren't rendering a bunch of animations and applications on an M2 Ultra and then pasting them just for marketing purposes. No, they said that was all rendered on Apple Vision Pro, but they're just stitching it together in the marketing material so that you kind of get the gist of, okay, this is what you look like with the headset on, and as you're moving your hands and fingers, this is how the tiles interact with it. They did their best, I think, but even if Tim Cook did a live demo, we still would have relied on virtual editing. We would have had to have one camera feed on Tim and his hands and another POV camera feed that still wouldn't be that immersive because you're looking at it on a 2D screen showing what the displays are doing, but you don't really find that real connection of what it's like to actually have windows and tiles and graphics surrounding you and behaving very, very precisely based on their state-of-the-art eye tracking, which Marquez claims is like downright telepathic. So I'm very curious to try it out, and I think this is why Apple's very grateful they have the Apple Store, because the more and more people I think actually try it out, the more their imagination might be ignited by the possibilities, and they may find it actually more addicting, which is a good and bad thing. But in the realm of technology, we've already discovered that displays naturally attract our eyes. Like, you could just be in a restaurant or in a public place, and even though there's nothing interesting going on the TV around you, you will just watch the TV, even if it's some boring news show or some cartoon that you have no interest in, just because it's motion and it's a dynamic interface that's constantly changing. Your eyes kind of flock to TVs, and same thing with smartphones or smart watches. Sometimes we'll go on our phones or we'll check out our watch faces without even really an end goal in mind. We're not checking for messages or anything. We're just like, well, I'm bored, so let me see if there's anything interesting here. It's kind of like checking the fridge when you've already checked it before. And it's actually really creepy when you see what happens with toddlers, like babies and young children who don't even know how to talk yet will be attracted to multi-touch displays because they're so responsive, because they're so immersive, and that's a 2D experience. So I think once people start trying out the spatial computing experience with Apple Vision Pro, not just watching a video about it, not just hearing some YouTuber's opinion of it, but actually putting it on and starting to use it, I think there might be a certain level of addiction and attraction to it because they realize, ooh, this is really fun, and there's really basic things that I used to find kind of boring on a phone or computer, but now in the spatial computing sense, the possibilities are endless of where I can put the windows, how responsive they are, and hey, I don't have to touch the display anymore. I can just move my eyes. That's actually a little bit faster in some ways. So because it's such a tricky product to market, that's why I don't think Tim Cook was willing to put it on at the unveiling. The lenticular display isn't ready yet, and the live demo of it would not be any more immersive than what they actually showcased. But I think it's also worth mentioning in Tim Cook's history, even back when Apple was doing in-person events, they still revealed a lot of things via a really fancy marketing video. Like the Apple Watch, they just kind of fade to black and then slowly reveal it through animation. And then after that unveil, Tim Cook comes out wearing it. But same thing with AirPods, they didn't really just pull them out of their pocket Steve Jobs style. I think in today's Apple, which is a bit more calculated and a lot more inclusive, you know, you don't have Tim Cook presenting everything anymore. Whereas back in the Steve Jobs days, he was basically running the entire presentation presentations back then. He practically did everything. Now they have like 15, 20 different presenters within a 2-hour keynote. You don't have that same salesmanship or charisma anymore, which I get, but all I'm trying to say is even without Steve Jobs, Apple still has made miraculously popular products like AirTags, the Apple Watch, and AirPods, despite them not having necessarily live demos. It's the same kind of thing because I kind of look at Vision Pro as like headphones for your eyes. And how can Apple truly give you a live demo of what it's like to wear AirPods Pro or AirPods Max? They can try with fancy marketing like animations of how the dots move around you and how it cancels out background audio, but you don't really know what they sound like or feel like in your ear until you try them yourself. So I wish people would look at Apple Vision Pro in the same way. All the more reason I'm excited to check it out next year. But what do you guys think? Would it have been more powerful to have a live demo in an in-person event, or more convincing if Craig or Tim Cook was actually wearing it during the keynote? Feel free to let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. And thank you to everybody supporting this channel directly. Seriously, helps us out a ton, as does just watching these videos. This is your Apple Shape here, and I will see you all in the next one.